Who is Omarion Hampton? The consensus second best running back in the class. He's a powerful running back that refuses to go down from poor tackle attempts, like on this play versus FSU, where he will squeeze through a tight opening, shed through 2 weak tackles at the line of scrimmage, and then bounce a defender off of himself to make it look like a very easy touchdown. Now, here I'm going to pause it first to just kind of showcase where he's going to be running. So as you saw, he's going to cut right up through the middle there, and he's going to go ahead and quickly bounce through a very narrow opening here, as he will then have a D lineman and somebody else put hands on him but not bring him down there. And just a simple move away from this player here will bounce him right into this contact, right into this forcible hit from this defender. But he really handles it like a champ, and as you can see, he just really saunters his way in, knowing no one can catch him. Welcome back to Franchise Tagged. In today's scouting report video, we are going to be covering Omarion Hampton, running back out of UNC. I'll start with the pros of his game and then move to his cons before getting into some film analysis. After that, we wrap up by giving him a scouting report card, which is a list of grades and various running back traits, and then an overall grade on him as a prospect. Timestamps for all of these sections will be in the description below. Starting off with his pros, Omarion is a powerful runner and he has a great burst of speed to accelerate quickly. He gets skinny to fit through any hole, pause, and is a powerful finisher, pause, falling forward on nearly every tackle. While not a guaranteed broken tackle, he did rack up 73 forced broken tackle attempts in 2024, and he runs through arm tackles like they're nothing. He fights for yardage, and moving away from his pure rushing contributions, he is a decent threat out of the backfield. I feel like most teams would have a better running back than him in terms of receiving, but he has great hands and he is a threat with the ball in his hands, forcing missed tackles and garnering a lot of yards after the catch. In terms of pass protection, he's a stout blocker and gives his quarterback time to make throws that others wouldn't. However, it's not the peak of his game. Moving towards his cons, he lacks maneuverability to force tackles and relies on his physicality to do so, as he will often have runs be cut short when a minor juke or a cut would have been able to evade a tackle. He ends up going down because he can't evade that tackle. And when he does try to employ these cut moves, he has a tendency to lose balance and takes multiple steps to recover balance if not taken down before those steps are finished. While he does have a great burst and good acceleration, his top end speed isn't great. I know his 40 time was good, but on tape he runs a little bit slower, with defenders often making up ground. When it comes to his receiving work, his route tree is rudimentary, and that's what leads me to believe that he wouldn't be a team's best receiving back, but his hands do make up a good chunk of my lack of faith in his routes themselves. Lastly, when it comes to his pass protection cons, I do think that sometimes he has a tendency to just whiff on them and give up that pressure on the quarterback a little bit too quick. Getting into the film breakdown, I'll be going over some tape from the FSU game for him, and starting off with this play, we have a outside run attempt here, and in the box, and after this motion finishes from what's happening here, the motioning player and this motioning defender, there is going to end up being 6 defenders in the box, and here I'm drawing the box out for you, 6 defenders in the box with 2 linebackers and 4 on the line, and then we've got 6 blockers, including this back off ball tight end here, offline, and then we have this outside run that's going to be cutting across here, and the blocks aren't perfect on it, but Omarion does show his great burst, and he does show an ability to get through it, and I believe it ends up being about a 6-yard gain. All right, so as you can see at the end of the clip there, he does, fall forward on these tackle attempts, as I had mentioned. Here we have this motion coming across here. Snap goes, and we have this double team block on this player here, and that really opens up this linebacker who's recognizing this handoff to kind of cut up, and this double team block is going to be ending up moving to block this linebacker, but he's a little bit late to it, so the linebacker isn't going to be able to make a minor impact on this, but that's where Omarion, being as good as he is against these weak arm attempts at him, we have one arm attempt here from this D lineman, and then he's coming in, arms out, he's going to be batting at him as well, and he's going ahead and he's covering up the ball, he's getting skinny, getting through that hole, and there's even a tighter hole right there between these 2 blocks that happened. He squeezes right through there, and while he doesn't, get out of it so clean, he does end up getting tackled, but as I said, he falls forward on the play. Here we have another play with a very stacked trench play, as I'll call it. We've got 7 blockers here. Of across the offensive line, and we've got 4 and then stacked 3 linebackers. So 7 on 7 here. Gonna need some good blocks in order to make this run work. Gonna need some good play from the defense in order to make up for that blocker. Everybody's got a hat on a hat here, and that blocker deficit. And what's going to end up happening here, and what's kind of the crucial part of this play, is going to be this corner, who's going to be covering an inside breaking route here as Omarion takes this kind of angle through the offensive line. And while he goes through those gaps, you're going to see here, this corner is going to kind of be very, I won't say very, but he's late. He's going to be late to the run recognition because the ball's handed off already. He's here. And taking those few steps, he's realizing, hey, this wide receiver I'm covering, this backfield, everything's kind of opening up to be in favor of this being a run. And Omarion goes ahead and he's going to really punish his bad angle and his late recognition there, because he's going to go ahead and he is going to cut right across him, make him lose all leverage, cut to the outside, run up that sideline for a good chunk of yards before getting tackled and brought down. Now, while he does get brought down, he does get caught up to after making that. It's kind of indicative of what I said earlier, where his initial burst is menacing, but he does end up getting caught and tracked down because of his lacking top end speed sometimes. But showing it from the backside angle here, again, very loaded offensive line play. Good blocks though. He does get a good opening between these blocks here, a good lane opening up, and then this wide receiver comes across to also get some help here. And, great blocks all around. It really makes this play. But that top end speed, getting tracked down, and the ability to have that initial burst through that opening, because as you can kind of see, when he first gets the ball, he soul plays it a little bit. He takes those first couple of steps, and there's no real urgency to go ahead and burst, because he's letting those blocks develop. And he's looking straight down too. He's not looking where he's going to be running. He's not checking out like, okay, here's this lane, where's it going? He's looking straight down the middle and then makes this immediate cut to the outside. And using that burst, sets up this block to be better than it really was. And it's a good opening, so he cuts through it immediately. This was really just a good play. It shows that burst, and it also shows that top end speed I was talking about not being the best. On to the last play I'll be breaking down. I wanted to get some of his receiving work in, and I wanted it to show strengths. So here, it's not really that much of a receiving rep as much as it is he's going to be running a little screen here, sit, wait for the ball, and then turn upfield with it. And, I think the big part of what ends up happening here is he's dynamic with the ball in his hands, regardless of how he gets it. He goes ahead, he uses his blockers, he leverages them well using his speed. He's not using necessarily his mobility moves. He's sitting, he's going to get here, sit for the ball, just kind of float around line of scrimmage. And, this guy right here is going to try to make it a little difficult, but Omarion doesn't let it really impact him on his concentration on catching it, and that's one of the best parts of his receiving game is his hands. So, this little shovel pass, it's caught, doesn't let that defender bother him, and he cuts upfield, and it's very wide open. He would have gotten a lot of yards from this, regardless of any blocks, regardless of any, maneuverability he did to really set up his blocks, but he's moving away from people that are going to be completely unblocked. Some defenders here coming in, and he's moving towards the people that he knows can block for him, can get in the way of defenders, and help him make this play. So he really leveraged that side, really made this player stop to try to cut back, and that's right when he cuts forward. And luckily, he had this wide receiver here, buy him that extra time. Then he's running right here. All right, well, we've got this guy right here, obviously going to be making an impact on the play, the safety coming up. And no, he's gone. He does this quick little shimmy move, not necessarily a cut or a maneuverability, big plus there, not a juke move, but he makes that little step, that little threat of step where he squares up with him and then he sets it up right, cutting across. And it's the speed, it's the burst of speed immediately where he's able to set you up with just a step and burst across your face. Regardless of how he gets the ball in his hands, and he does have good hands to catch these actual passes, not exactly screens that are shoveled. That's a little bit of a poor showing of that, but with the defender near him, able to affect his concentration. Did want to point it out. Getting into Omarion Hampton's scouting report card, he gets a C+ on receiving due to those hands and due to the explosive plays he can make with the ball in his hands post-catch. But, the lack of good route running out of the backfield does hinder that from going anything above. But his best grade does come in at power at an A-. A couple of things I didn't touch on prior was his vision and patience grades. In terms of vision, I did notice him sometimes bulldozing straight into a pile of bodies, but for the most part, he does recognize cutback lanes well, and for patience, despite that great burst of speed behind the line of scrimmage, he can slow play and use that patience and let blocks develop, getting that grade up to being a B+. Overall, I give Omarion Hampton a B grade, which is a high-end, late first, low-end, early day 2 pick. I quite like his game, and he will excel at being some team's workhorse back in the league, but some issues with that elusiveness and with top-end speed do kind of hold him back from being that clear-cut first-round guy. If you enjoyed the video and made it this far, thank you for watching. Hit like and subscribe. I will have a few more of these scouting reports coming out pre-draft, so stay tuned for those. But with that, up in the iCard is going to be the playlist of all the ones I've made thus far. Thank you for watching.